movements possible with the fine bones of the fingers and wrists. The gestures were complex and subtle, involving a delicacy of motion that has since been lost completely. During the age of silence, people communicated more, not less. Basic survival demanded that the hands were almost never still, and so it was only during sleep, and sometimes not even then, that people were not saying something or other. No distinction was made between the gestures of language and the gestures of life. The labor of building a house, say, or preparing a meal was no less an expression than making the sign for I love you and I feel serious. When a hand was used to shield one's face when frightened by a loud noise, something was being said. And when fingers were used to pick up what someone else had dropped, something was being said. And even when the hands were at rest, that too was saying something. Naturally, there were misunderstandings. There were times when a finger might have been lifted to scratch a nose, and if casual eye contact was made with one's lover just then, the lover might accidentally take it to be the gesture, not at all dissimilar. For, now I realize I was wrong to love you. These mistakes were heartbreaking, and yet, because people knew how easily they could happen, because they didn't go around with the illusion that they understood perfectly the things other people said, they were used to interrupting each other to ask if they'd understood correctly. Sometimes these misunderstandings were even desirable, since they gave people a reason to say, "Forgive me, I was only scratching my nose. Of course I know I've always been right to love you." Because of the frequency of these mistakes, over time the gesture for asking forgiveness evolved into the simplest form. Just to open your palm was to say, "Forgive me." Aside from one exception, almost no record exists of this first language. The exception on which all knowledge of the subject is based is a collection of 79 fossil gestures, prints of human hands frozen in mid-sentence and housed in a small museum in Buenos Aires. One holds the gesture for sometimes when the rain, another for after all these years, another for was I wrong to love you. They were found in Morocco in 1903 by an Argentine doctor named Antonio Alberto di Biedma. He was hiking in the high Atlas Mountains when he discovered the cave where the 79 gestures were pressed into the shale. He studied them for years without getting any closer to understanding until one day, already suffering the fever of the dysentery that would kill him, he suddenly found himself able to decipher the meanings of the delicate motions of fists and fingers trapped in stone. Soon afterwards, he was taken to a hospital in Fez, and as he lay dying, his hands moved like birds, forming 1,000 gestures, dormant all those years. If at large gatherings or parties, or around people with whom you feel distant, your hands sometimes hang awkwardly at the ends of your arms, if you find yourself at a loss for what to do with them, overcome with sadness that comes when you recognize the foreignness of your own body, it's because your hands remember a time when the division between mind and body, brain and heart, what's inside and what's outside, was so much less. It's not that we've forgotten the language of gestures entirely. The habit of moving our hands while we speak is left over from it. Clapping, pointing, giving the thumbs up, all artifacts of ancient gestures. Holding hands, for example, is a way to remember how it feels to say nothing together. And at night, when it's too dark to see, we find it necessary to gesture on each other's bodies to make ourselves understood. The owner of the second-hand bookstore lowered the volume of the radio. She flipped to the back flap of the book to find out more about the author, but all it said was that Zvi Litvinov had been born in Poland and moved to Chile in 1941, where he still lived today. There was no photograph. That day, in between helping customers, she finished the book. Before locking up the shop that evening, she placed it in the window, a little wistful about having to part with it. The next morning, the first rays of the rising sun fell across the cover of The History of Love. The first of many flies alighted on its jacket. Its mildewed pages began to dry out in the heat as the blue-gray Persian cat who lorded over the shop brushed past it to lay claim to a pool of sunlight. A few hours later, the first of many passerby gave it a cursory glance as they went by the window. The shop owner did not try to push the book on any of her customers. She knew that in the wrong hands such a book could easily be dismissed or, worst, go unread. Instead, she let it sit where it was in the hope that the right reader might discover it. And that's what happened. One afternoon, a tall young man saw the book in the window. He came into the shop, picked it up, read a few pages, and brought it to the register. When he spoke to the owner, she couldn't place his accent. She asked where he was from, curious about the person who was taking the book away. Israel, he told her, explaining that he'd recently finished his time in the army and was traveling around South America for a few months. The owner was about to put the book in a bag, but the young man said he didn't need one and slipped it into his backpack. The door chimes were still tinkling as she watched him disappear, his sandals slapping against the hot, bright street. That night, shirtless in his rented room, under a fan lazily pushing around the hot air, the young man opened the book and, in a flourish he had been fine-tuning for years, signed his name, David Singer. Filled with relentlessness and longing, he began to read. It looks like we're starting chapter 4, I'm pretty sure. They aren't numbered, so I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's 4. It's called A Joy Forever. I don't know what I expected, but I expected something. My fingers shook whenever I went to unlock the mailbox. I went Monday, nothing. I went Tuesday and Wednesday. There was nothing on Thursday either. 2.5 weeks after I put my book in the mail, the telephone rang. I was sure it was my son. I'd been dozing in my chair. There was drool on my shoulder. I jumped to answer it. Hello? But it was only the teacher from the art class saying she was looking for people for a project she was doing at a gallery, and she thought of me because of my quote-unquote compelling presence. Naturally, I was flattered. At any other time, it would have been reason enough to splurge on spare ribs. And yet, what kind of project? I asked. She said all I had to do was sit naked on a meadow stool in the middle of the room, and then, if I felt like it, which she was hoping I would, dip my body into a vat of kosher cow's blood and roll on the large white sheets of paper provided. I may be a fool, but I'm not desperate. There's only so far I'm willing to go, so I thanked her very much for the offer, but said I was going to have to turn it down since I was already scheduled to sit on my thumb and rotate in accordance with the movements of the earth around the sun. She was disappointed, but she seemed to understand. She said if I wanted to come in and see the drawings the class had done of me, I could come to the show they were putting up in a month. I wrote down the date and hung up the phone. I'd been in the apartment all day. It was already getting dark, so I decided to go out for a walk. I'm an old man, but I can still get around. I hoofed it past Safi, Luncheonette, and the original Mr. Man Barber and Cossar's Baileys, where sometimes I'll go for a hot bagel on a Saturday night. They didn't used to make bagels. Why should they? If it's called Bailey's, then it's Bailey's. And yet, I kept walking. I went into the drugstore and knocked over a display of KY jelly, but my heart wasn't in it. When I passed the center, there was a big banner that said, Doo-Doo Fisher this Sunday night, buy tickets now. Why not? I thought. I didn't go in for the stuff myself, but Bruno loves Doo-Doo Fisher. I went in and bought 2 tickets. I didn't have any destination in mind. It started to get dark, but I persevered. When I saw a Starbucks, I went in and bought a coffee because I felt like a coffee, not because I wanted anyone to notice me. Normally, I would have made a big production. Give me a grande venti, a tall grande. Give me a chai super venti grande. Or do I want a short frappe? And then, for punctuation, I would have had a small mishap at the milk station. Not this time. I poured the milk like a normal person, a citizen of the world, and sat down in an easy chair across from a man reading the newspaper. I wrapped my hands around the coffee. The warmth felt good. The next table over, there was a girl with blue hair leaning over a notebook and chewing on a ballpoint pen. And at the table next to her was a little boy in a soccer uniform, sitting with his mother, who told him the plural of elf is elves. A wave of happiness came over me. It felt giddy to be Yes? Isn't it good to be alive? No, thank you. I don't want to buy anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's Leo. Listen, I was sitting here drinking a coffee in Starbucks and suddenly it hit me. Who hit you? Ah, listen. It hit me how good it is to be alive. Alive. And I wanted to tell you, to understand what I'm saying life is a thing of beauty, Bruno. A thing of beauty and a joy forever. There was a pause. Sure, whatever you say, Leo. Life is a beauty. And a joy forever, I said. All right, Bruno said. And a joy. I waited. Forever. I was about to hang up when Bruno said, Leo. Yes. Did you mean human life? I worked on my coffee for half an hour, making the most of it. The girl closed her notebook and got up to leave. The man neared the end of his newspaper. I read the headlines. I was a small part of something larger than myself. Yes, human life. Human life. Then the man turned the page and my heart stopped. It was a photo of Isaac. I'd never seen it before. I collect all his clippings. If there was a fan club, I'd be the president. For 20 years, I've subscribed to the magazine where occasionally he publishes. I thought I'd seen every photo of him. I've studied them all 1,000 times, and yet, this one was new to me. He was standing in front of a window. His chin was down, head tilted to the side. He might have been thinking, but his eyes were looking up as if someone had called his name right before the shutter clicked. I wanted to call out to him. It was only a newspaper, but I wanted to holler it at the top of my lungs. Isaac! Here I am. Can you hear me? My little Isaac. I wanted him to turn his eyes to me just as he had to whomever had just shaken him from his thoughts. But he couldn't, because the headline said, Isaac Moritz, novelist, dead at 60. Wow. I am gonna stop there for today. I do have to say I am glad that we're back to reading from the perspective of the old man. But I am very sad that his son is dead. That really sucks. Okay, if you did like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell and hit all notifications if you want to be notified when I come out with the next video. In this series, we are still not even halfway through the book, I would say. We're probably about a third of the way, maybe less than a third of the way through the book. We're on page 77. But yeah, I love this book so much, and if you would like to watch the videos in order so that you know what the heck is going on and you know what I'm talking about as far as this old man goes, I will link a whole playlist below in the comments for you so that you can watch these all in order, because this book starts off from the perspective of an old man who is Leo Kirksky, but I'm still unsure how he fits into the story. But at the end of the book, was sure it was my son. Sorry if you hear my dog snore.